Branded as Hong Kong's own e-wallet, PayMe has almost one-third of the population onboarded on its platform. But given the increasing challenges from the competitors, the future of PayMe is uncertain. So let's take a look at how we can help Dharini and Jaslyn in the mission of taking PayMe to the next level by ensuring financial sustainability. A very good morning to the esteemed panel of judges. I'm Pranjal Jain, and today, along with my teammates Chirag Sethi, Pulkit Sehgal, and Sarthak Bindal, we represent Shaheed Sukhdev College of Business Studies from India. And we're extremely honored to present before you our vision of how PayMe can ensure sustainable financial growth by adopting new ways of monetizing the app. So, moving on to give you a brief overview of how we have planned our 20 minutes of the presentation, we'll start by understanding the company and the given context. Moving forward, we'll see some of the core issues that need to be tackled. We'll then walk you through our comprehensive solution strategy, which we call Pay Me, Own Your Money, justifying our choice of alternative, and then delving deeper into the details. Post that, we'll shift gears to implementation and look at the proposed timeline and risks that we foresee. We'll end by providing a quantifiable justification for the impact created in terms of the increased number of retail users and merchants onboarded. So first of all, looking at the company profile, PayMe is an e-payment app backed by HSBC. PayMe, also branded as Hong Kong's own e-wallet, has been able to onboard one-third of Hong Kong's population on the app and around 25,000 merchants and stores accept payments through PayMe, which basically accounts for 75% of the market share. So moving on, PayMe has two major segments, P2P, that is peer-to-peer, and P2M, that is peer-to-merchant. So looking at the key issues, we need to understand that the PayMe P2P model attracted more than a quarter of Hong Kong's population due to its simplicity and convenience. But the P2P strategy didn't provide any monetization to PayMe, which was one of the key issues. So to sustain financially, PayMe was considering entering the P2M segment. However, players like Alipay, PayPal, Octopus Card, etc., already dominated the space. So to be successful here, PayMe had to, solve issues specific to both the users and the merchants by creating a demand for its products and services. For users, there was a lack of brand awareness amongst the people above the age of 40 specifically, since majority of users onboarded by PayMe are Gen Z or millennials. The current users also did not really have any incentive to shift to PayMe for making their P2M transactions since they already had a bunch of options available. Hence, to even consider PayMe as a viable option, PayMe will have to necessarily offer value-added services or some other incentives. On the other hand, merchants lacked awareness about PayMe and its P2M network. Added to that, since there were other options available, they weren't really actively seeking alternatives to P2M network. So going on, we need to understand that what exactly are the key issues that we'll be focusing on in our strategy. We have not focused on the merchant awareness issue since we believe that the first step to ensuring onboarding of merchants is creating a demand for the PayMe P2M model. This will basically be done by shifting our focus on the users first, which will have an indirect impact on the merchant onboarding process in the longer run, causing a trickle-down effect wherein the merchants will need to necessarily have PayMe as an option because they would have to cater to the demands of their customers. So now let's look at the three major alternatives available to PayMe to fulfill its objective of monetizing its products and services. First, continuing with the status quo. That means strengthening the current strategies to solidify the current existing customer base with no major changes. Secondly, PayMe Own Your Money strategy, which basically involves launching two new value addition services which help in app monetization. Lastly, PayMe with Gen Z, which involves an increased focus on Gen Z and the youth in general to strengthen our potential future customer base. So we have chosen to go ahead with the PayMe Own Your Money strategy. Let's recall a little. PayMe needs to ensure sustainable financial growth through monetization. Own Your Money has two subcategories, P2P and P2M, wherein we are suggesting introduction of a P2P lending model for the former and a buy now pay later option for the P2M network. Reviewing the other options, while things have been working well for PayMe in the status quo, and that might seem to continue well in the future as well, we believe that if we have an option to explore better options, that is always a plus. Hence, our motive is to build on the existing features without eliminating them entirely. Furthermore, we don't prefer to focus on Gen Z right now, but rather in the longer run due to the uncertainty factor in the fintech space. In case we focus on Gen Z right now, we'll have to compromise on the current strengthening of the market, which might be detrimental for PayMe in the longer run. Now, here we have reviewed the potential options based on some key metrics like competitive intensity, ease of implementation, expertise, and financial impact. Based on our analysis of the given metrics, we have chosen P2P lending and buy now, pay later options to be included in our strategy, which would be explained further.
Now, introducing to you our main solution, PayMe, Own Your Money. Through this, we plan to basically create an ecosystem connecting merchants, borrowers, lenders, and retail customers, which basically means that people can pay merchants, borrow and lend to and from each other, and purchase things on credit all in one app. The PayMe app would now have two additional features, the P2P lending platform and the buy now, pay later feature, which we will explain in depth in the coming slides. Firstly, let us understand our flagship P2P lending model, right? This will basically allow us to use users with high credit scores to borrow small amounts of money from other users who wish to give out loans as an investment and earn returns on that loan. So to briefly explain how the entire model would work, first, there are basically three aspects or steps. First, the borrowers and lenders will first have to register themselves on the platform with the hassle-free KYC process. Secondly, they will be linking their bank accounts on the PayMe app, where our algorithm will basically calculate a credit score for them. And third, only those people, this is an important factor, only those people who have a very high credit score will be allowed to borrow money through the app. Basically, there is a flow of capital from the lenders to PayMe, which is then responsible for dispersing it amongst the borrowers. For facilitating the entire process, PayMe will get a 1% commission, which will act as an additional source of revenue for the firm. Now, let us understand why the lenders or the borrowers would be interested in something like this in the first place, right? So for lenders, this will basically act as an alternative investment opportunity, which they can use to diversify their portfolio and get a decent return on their investment. Secondly, this model would also allow them to get a higher interest rate than bank FDs and other similar investments. And thirdly, it's a low risk investment compared to other investment alternatives, since we are only lending to people with a very high credit score. And for borrowers, this P2P model would basically allow borrowers to borrow funds very quickly and seamlessly, and the app would also give them real-time due dates and schedules. Thus, we think both the parties would be incentivized enough to partake in this model. Now, we also need to ensure that borrowers pay back the money borrowed in time, right? So for that, we take the following steps. First, the money would be automatically debited from the borrower's linked bank account on the due dates. Secondly, we will also send regular reminders through app notifications and texts. Third, in order to incentivize timely payments, we will be giving bonus points, which can further be used to purchase deals from the app. We'll come back to this in the further slides. And fourth, it would also allow them to improve their credit scores, thus allowing them to get better financing opportunities in the future. And also, one important thing is that we also have strong systems in place for recovery process in cases of any default. Now, in order to have an additional source of revenue while focusing on the P2M side now, we introduced to you a second strategy, that is the buy now, pay later model. The buy now, pay later model basically allows the user to purchase goods without paying for it. Basically, retail shoppers can buy goods on credit, where PayMe will pay the bill amount to the merchant on the day of the purchase, and the users will repay the amount on a monthly basis. This service, unlike the P2P lending, will be available to users with moderate to good credit rating scores. Here, there are two major sources of revenue for PayMe, right? First, there would be an increase in the transaction fee collected from merchants, since we anticipate both an increase in the new users because of this feature, and secondly, increase in per user expenditure. Secondly, while we want to promote the timely payment of their dues, an additional source of revenue would be the late fees collected on missed payments. The precedence of this comes from the system followed by the credit card companies. Right. Now let's understand the benefits that exist for this model for the different stakeholders, right? Firstly, this is obviously great for PayMe, since this will lead to an increase in user base and the transaction fee coming from the merchants, thus focusing on our objective of expanding our P2M strategy. For merchants, this will lead to an increased average bill size, higher sales, and increased card conversion. And for customers, it will basically get them access to easy credit and flexible repayment options. Now, both of our strategies, namely P2P lending and BNPL, will basically help PayMe to monetize their app and become financially sustainable while increasing their customer base and merchant base.
Right. Now, just summarizing the P2P and the BNPL model till now, here we're trying to tap into the upper and the middle class of the population. This is because the main emphasis is given on increasing the monetization while creating certain value-added services to the customers. However, let us understand that PayMe is positioned as Hong Kong's own app, and we must continue to maintain its position to strengthen its position in the current market. Right. With this, we would like to lead you to the second part of the Pay Me Own Your Money strategy, which focuses on boosting the P2M transactions while also creating an impact for all sections of the society and not restricting the reach in any sense. Introducing to you the P2M strategy as part of our Pay Me Own Your Money strategy to increase the volume of P2M transactions, which has been a major bottleneck for our client till now, and hence leading to a boost in the profitability as well. As we know, any successful strategy needs to be well thought out before its implementation, and hence we have divided this particular part into two segments. The first talks about how we plan on incentivizing the customers to increase the P2M transactions, and then in the second stage, we discuss what can be the reasons for the merchants to adopt our platform over the other alternatives. As explained, let's delve deeper into the first stage of the plan. Let us look at this in terms of what the customer journey will look like, right? Currently, a customer, let's say named John, has no incentive to use PayMe to pay merchants instead of the other alternatives, which seem to be working fine for him, right? What can PayMe do to get John to adopt this platform as a daily go-to platform? Well, it is quite simple, honestly. It is the various incentives that we have explained here. Now, when John starts using PayMe to make these transactions, he will get certain cashbacks. Further, he can also easily refer this app to other friends and family members, and both the parties in this case get rewarded with PayMe points, similar to how Pulkit also explained in one of the earlier slides. Next, increasing our brand collaboration can help us to provide our customers with custom vouchers from these apps. Lastly, and very importantly, collaborations with local cultural artists for marketing purposes. We must ensure that there is a strong link maintained between our strategy and the rich culture of Hong Kong, which will further help us to attract the older population of the country as well, not negating them in any sense. Now that we have discussed the customer journey and why would a customer prefer to use PayMe to pay merchants, let us look at how this will slowly translate into onboarding of merchants to actively use our platform to accept payments. Now, we need to understand the trickle down effect of the stage one of this plan that will eventually lead us to this stage and hence the impact that will be generated. Currently, the problem is since the customers also prefer using mediums like cash or the Octopus card, there is practically no need for merchants to accept payments through PayMe. So, however, as explained in the entire strategy till now, PayMe Own Your Money will increase the demand for it to be accepted as a payment platform. Hence, we believe that there will be an indirect impact translating into a boost in the merchants using the app. While explaining the entire strategy, we have mentioned PayMe points to be introduced, either in the form of reward for timely payments in the P2P model or by referring the app to the other people. Let us understand how this mechanism works. It is again quite simple for the customer. He just needs to collect as many PayMe points as possible, and then he can redeem those points against offers and vouchers that will be provided by our partner businesses who want to promote themselves through our app, and hence we will also charge a small fees from them based on the number of times a customer utilizes his points by selecting that company's offer. Concluding the entire Pay Me Own Your strategy, we believe that it is a strategy that needs to be implemented in different phases, and we will be able to tackle the key problems that we had earlier identified in a phased out manner.
Right. So now we'll talk about the implementation. And it's important to understand
that offering financial products and services isn't a task that is risk-free. We believe that there are two major risks we might face going ahead with the strategy of the P2P lending as well as the BNPL model. The first risk, which is probably the most expected, is the risk of defaults from the borrowers in our P2P lending model. If a person borrows a loan and doesn't repay the platform back, even after a sophisticated credit score evaluation process and soft recovery process, it will be a loss to our business. To take care of this risk, we will analyze our expected potential loss from default and partner with an insurance company accordingly. The second considerable risk we have taken in account is the non-adoption of our financial products by the consumers. We believe that the likelihood of this scenario is low because of our penetration in the payments market. But in case it does happen, it will be extremely difficult for the company to survive after already investing in two more strategies and not generating sound cash flow. We will try to deal with this problem by incentivizing users by providing cashbacks and lucrative vouchers. We believe that considerable expenses will have to be made to capture this particular market. Now, when we come on to the timeline of this particular implementation, we believe that it is extremely crucial given our multifaceted focus to launching different products while taking care of key stakeholders. Developing a sound buy now, pay later community, its marketing strategy, and enabling transactions will be done majorly in 2022 with an expected completion till early 2023 and constantly evaluating progress in the next 3 to 4 years. The P2P lending model will similarly be established in 22-23. Because of the novelty of this product for the Hong Kong consumers and significantly different functioning, it will take a little longer for its development and implementation. Incentivizing users to get on board our platform, both lenders and borrowers, as well as retail purchasers, requires significant expenses in the form of cashbacks from our side. These cashbacks, discounts, and vouchers will be key. Yet, this effort will have to be trimmed going ahead since we can't afford to spend excessive cash either. Lastly, establishing brand collaborations will be an important source of revenue for us, since a large chunk of brands would want consumer visibility and attention on the platform, consisting of 2.5 plus million customers. These brands would be offering vouchers and discounts of their products on our platform, as Chirag already mentioned. Now, when we come out to the financial impact of it, the financials of our own your money strategy are key for the final execution and implementation. We have projected the user growth rate as well as the revenue generated from our P2P business segment. Starting from 20,000 users and growing at a 20% year-on-year rate, we project that we will have north of 100,000 borrowers in the next 5 years who have a good credit score and are eligible for seeking loans. The noticeable feature is a marked difference in the 60% year-on-year growth rate of revenue collected in the next 5 years. We believe that our revenue will grow at a higher rate than the number of borrowers because the average loan ticket size will increase as we gain validation from lenders steadily. In addition to an increase in the transaction fees from 1 to 1.5%, we will be charging once we gain precedence. We expect to generate a total of 150 million Hong Kong dollars in the next 5 years. The more trust we gain, the better we perform. A similar analysis has been done for the BNPL solution. We believe that our BNPL solution, which is the buy now, pay later solution, will be more widespread and adopted faster. This will be a major cash cow going ahead. We forecast that we will generate a significant sum of revenue totaling to $450 million Hong Kong dollars in the next 5 years at a growth rate of nearly 80%, owing to one, a rapid increase in customers, as already mentioned, two, an increase in frequency of transactions and bigger average order value, and three, an uptick in transaction fee charged from merchant partners once our buy now pay later solution is widely used by retail shoppers. We will be aiming to acquire 1.3 million buy now pay later customers in the next 5 years, growing rapidly in an ever increasing market of POS financing. To conclude, we believe that trust will be a key factor for implementation in our strategy, since financial lending requires mutual belief from both parties. Additionally, through our PayMe app, we offer our users a wide range of functionalities, investment options, and established credit lines for them to fully utilize their money in their truest sense, while leveraging both the P2P and P2M strategies to establish a monetization roadmap for the company. It's finally time, as we say, for our customers to own their money. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Team India. We will now go to the Q&A. The Q&A will last for 15 minutes. Judges, just a very kind reminder to just ask concise questions during the Q&A. There's an opportunity to give feedback on the presentations after all the presentations have finished. So let the Q&A start. Judges, please.
All right. I have a question around the understanding of the Hong Kong market. So did the team actually study the Hong Kong market competitive scene and PayMe's state of development? Because P2M is really what we're really doing. Buy now, pay later is pretty me too in the industry. So what is the unique point in your products?
Thank you for your question, Dutch. First of all, we believe that even though there might be existing competition for a buy now pay later option or P2P lending, it is the inclusiveness of all these features in one particular app which makes us stand apart from our competitors like Alipay or WeChat Pay or Google Pay, for instance. We believe that all of these features combine in one particular app where the community is strong, where the users are very shortlisted. So, for example, in our P2P lending model, we have borrowers and lenders who have a credit score of a very high credit score. And we believe that these are the borrowers or lenders we want to target so that one, the risk is reduced, and two, the amounts lent or borrowed are higher, on which our percentage fees that we charge, the PayMe app, which will charge as transaction fees, will be higher. And going ahead, this particular group of users will be people who will be lending and borrowing frequently and hence earning us revenue. Secondly, the buy now pay later model is also something that we believe will be targeted for those who are from moderate to high credit score people. And we believe we want to eliminate majority part of the risk through a sophisticated system of choosing whom to give loan to and whom to not, or whom to enable this buy now pay later option for. And as the trust develops in this particular community, together with the transaction services in the P2P and the P2M market that we already have, we believe that as a complete package, we can definitely grow and leverage our user growth and penetration in the Hong Kong market.
Yeah, so just to add here, if I may, basically, like you said, what is the unique point of our strategy, right? Just to summarize here, the unique point of our strategy, I think, is the fact that we're building an entire ecosystem, right? So we are building an entire ecosystem where we have a bunch of different functionalities inside one place, where a person who wants to buy clothes or pay a friend of his, or pay the salary of his school or anything else, or even he might want to take a loan, etc., etc. All of these functionalities can be put under one head, and this basically ensures a smooth customer experience and a smooth customer journey.
I got a question. So yeah, you're showing the revenue. Maybe for the team to share, what about on the running cost of the proposed solutions? What are the things that are going to impact on the running cost on an ongoing basis? Yeah.
Sure. Again, thank you for your question, Dutch. In fact, we definitely discussed very deeply on the operations cost because we believe there will be a lot of costs associated. The first cost that we estimate is the app development cost. Since there are a few more features that we are going to add, the BNPL community as well as the P2P lending model within the app, we believe there will be significant costs taken for that. Second, we believe we'll have to develop our own in-house credit rating process so that we don't lend to anybody and everybody. We want to have a strict check for consumers or borrowers who we want to lend to, and hence that development of that particular model will be essential. Third, of course, operations costs will be definitely something that need to be considered because on running the app and this community will require time and effort and a lot of costs. Fourth is a significant expenditure done on cashbacks, vouchers, and brand collaborations and marketing strategy will be a major expenditure going forward. And we will have to be extremely careful while implementing this strategy because it is important that, yes, we spend money to onboard users. At the same time, we believe it is important that we start earning and monetizing our app slowly. So these are the 4 key expenditures I feel the app would be incurring if we go ahead with implementing our strategy.
Yeah, just a small thing to add here. Even though we don't have a quantitative number for costs here, we do want you to realize that the costs that we were analyzing while doing our research, we figured out that the cost would be no way near to the revenue that we will be able to generate in the next 5 years, and and the revenue will be exponentially high as compared to the costs, the initial one-time cost and the running costs as well.
Just to add on to the second point which Sarthak mentioned, that is the cost associated with us maintaining an entire process for the credit score evaluation, right? What we believe is that we can also use HSBC's expertise in this very process, hence also reducing the cost that would have otherwise been incurred, also increasing the reliability of the scores there.
Hey guys, I have one question, right? I mean, it's in a similar way. If you look at all the other markets which launched P2P lending 7 years ago, BNPL sort of 4 or 5 years ago, they're all going through a correction, right? So why do we believe this is the right product in Hong Kong and this is the right timing?
Again, thank you for your question. We believe that given HSBC's banking and HSBC's expertise in lending, I think it will be something which will be very important for PayMe to capitalize. Now, HSBC expertise in lending is something that PayMe can utilize very efficiently to lend to people. Yes, I understand that probably because of a global downturn, so to say, there have been corrections now the funding might have stopped a little for, let's say, BNPL or P2P lending companies. But it is this stage we believe that it is important to revolutionize for pay to me. It is something. It is important that we experiment and move ahead now, because given some case studies in other parts of the world, encouraging just P2P transactions and hoping for P2M transactions to climb up steadily is not something that we should probably be too optimistic about, because we already have competitors in the market. So it's important that we do something differently and hope for the best results, rather than keep doing the same things and hope to get something better out of it. So essentially, it's about giving value-added services to our customer and help them utilize their money in the best possible way by investing, borrowing, and purchasing goods for credit, and all of these services together, so that the customer understands the value of his or her money, and we as a company can finally start monetizing our expenditures and our investment that has been done so far.
Further, I would like to add one more thing. If you talk about the P2P model or the BNPL model in other countries, I agree with you. However, in this case, in most of those cases, those are usually startups who are into fintech startups who are into this space. However, here we already have a market with us. We already have a huge set of customers. Hence, it would not be as difficult for us to implement all of this while creating a demand in the entire market for the same.
Just adding on to that, answering the part of the question where you asked why we think it's the right time to launch these features, we believe that due to the recent pandemic and the ongoing digitization trend, people have realized the importance of switching to digital payments and how convenient it is. Even if we talk about the senior generation, that is people who are above the age of 40. And due to that reason, we believe launching these features at this point of time is something that would definitely help maybe get a competitive advantage given the comprehensive feature pack that we are providing.
Okay, one more question. You mentioned about M2M earlier on in the analysis, right? And you say the financial impact is high, but the ease of implementation is low. So what is the M2M idea?
Right. So this is something that we did consider. The M2M idea is the merchant-to-merchant lending, which basically means that let's say there are so many merchants, small merchants and shop owners, and a lot of times you have a shortfall of money or a shortfall of credit to purchase goods. So in those shortfalls, I believe a merchant-to-merchant community will be a good community to have when one merchant lends to another merchant, and so on and so forth, so that we create a community for them and eliminate some major financial institution that charges a huge amount in between. We want the merchants and other corporations to have this option of lending to each other, because given that when merchants would lend or borrow, they would be lending or borrowing higher amounts. So that is something where we believe the financial impact can be high. And I mean, since we do not have a very huge precedence in the market, the ease of implementation will be low, and our user base that the current existing user base is very different from what the merchant to merchant lending and borrowing user base will require. So there are a lot of things that we'll have to consider to for implementation, as well as putting things into perspective and finally launching that particular strategy. But yes, that's an innovative idea going ahead, which probably PayMe can utilize going ahead, of course.
Yeah. So just to add here, basically, currently, when we launched the P2P lending platform, we firstly try to convert those customers who are already on the PayMe app, right? So the 2+ million people who are already registered, we try to convert them to start using our facilities of P2P lending and the BNPL model. Whereas for the M2M model, we'll have to do a lot of extra effort. We'll have to put in a lot of extra effort in the sense that firstly, we'll have to realize that a lot of merchants are unorganized, right? We'll have to see whether they even have the funds to take part in something of this sort, whether they're even interested in something of this sort, in the sense that whether they want to spend their extra savings and money to in an investment platform of this sort. So we eventually realized that it's unlikely, and we think that the P2P lending and the BNPL model would fare well for the company.
I don't want to hog the Q&A, but maybe one more question. So imagine if on the social news, right, you see the headline that loan sharks and secret triads leverage PayMe's P2P lending by leveraging the identity of normal citizens. How would you manage this crisis as the management of PayMe?
Right. Thank you for your question again. We believe that, again, having a strict procedure in place to check the identity of the customers as well as their borrowing capacity, I think these two will be very important metrics for us to go forward, because as we already mentioned, we believe that trust will be an important factor. We believe that PayMe will only be able to earn once it gains trust from both the communities, and the trust factor can only be enabled when there is safety of the for the consumers and the borrowers or the lenders. So again, having an in-house process of credit rating, credit checking, that will be important, and to having a know your customer.
So you're saying the onus is on HSBC side to do the credit checking, so then the blame comes to HSBC if anything happens, right? Is that what you're saying?
We believe that the process of checking the credit score, yes, that lies on HSBC, and that is where we believe that major risk lies. But again, that is something that, as company, we believe will be rewarded in the future. So yes, we'll have to have a good security check in place to prevent any mishaps or any fraud that can happen.
Also, again, leveraging on the kind of expertise HSBC again possesses in this particular field. I haven't heard of news of HSBC's data being leaked, honestly. So I mean, similarly, leveraging on that technology and the expertise that HSBC already possesses, I think this should be less of a risk if we move forward with this strategy. But yeah, great question. Thank you so much.
Okay, there's 2 minutes left. Maybe time for one more question.
Sure. I noticed like a lot of this focusing more on the user side. So if we indeed has grown the users, I heard you mentioned merchant will be onboarded. What are other incentives or campaigns we can drive more merchants to use this platform?
Right. So thank you for your question again. We believe that there will be a few marketing campaigns, especially focused on getting merchants onboarded at a later stage. But initially, we believe that all of our processes, like the buy now, pay later strategy or the P2P lending strategy, will onboard newer and newer users to our particular app. And when so many people have downloaded and started using this app for all these other purposes, for like the BNPL option, the sooner or later the merchants will have to adopt, even if those merchants were previously hesitant of adopting this particular app for conducting payments. Now they will be, thinking that, okay, if everybody is using it, if all my customers are paying me with this particular app, then why shouldn't I download that app so that people, so that I can have, I can receive payments very easily. So I think that is
Also,
one key focus we'll be looking at.
yeah, just one more thing to add there. When we talked about the pay me points and the kind of offers that these companies, the merchants will be offering to the customers, again, that's a great incentive for the merchants to actually advertise through this very platform itself, which again sees a huge customer base leading to a growth in their sales as well.
So when you are suggesting will be the stage 2 to begin, because in your chart there is no stage 2. So when exactly the stage 2 will supposed to start?
Sorry, Anita, I have to end it here because we're
okay,
running
sure.
out of time.
No
Thank
worry.
you. Thank you so much, judges, for your excellent questions. Thank you, Team India, for your presentation and for the Q&A. Judges, you've received a sheet with the links for the next room. So I'll see you in the next room.